Greetings, fellow dungeon delvers, and welcome to Dorans and Dragons, where we work together to come up with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition builds for your favorite League of Legends champions. Today we're building Senna, the Redeemer. Senna is a story of tragedy and perseverance. Touched by the black mist from her early childhood, Senna has always been on the move, attempting to escape it. A sentinel of light saved her from the mist, and from that moment forward she swore to learn how to fight back. She joined the Sentinels of Light with Urias as her mentor. Unfortunately, many battles later, Urias was slain and Senna had to tell the news to his son, Lucian. Lucian and Senna hit it off right away, and as a result, Lucian was driven to cure her of the mist. That drive led them both to an encounter with Thresh, the Chain Warden. Thresh slew Senna and drew her into his lantern. Where most souls are lost though, Senna's affliction kept her alive. Lucian finally freed her by destroying the lantern, and when she emerged, she was reborn. Now able to wield both the Black Mist and the Light Relic Cannon, she seeks to find the Ruined King and stop him. Before we get started with the build, go ahead and like the video and hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when we release our builds. We'd like to take a minute and thank our awesome patrons over on Patreon who support us every month. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on and the hamsters running on their wheels. If you like our videos and want to support the channel, come join us over on Patreon today for just $1 to get access to our awesome Discord community where we talk League and D&D all day long. Alright, now let's get into it. Here's a quick preview of the build. For race, we're going with Reborn. Per usual, our stats are going to be determined using the standard array. For our stat priorities, we're going to max Charisma and dump Strength. We do have a multi-class requirement of 13 in Charisma. Our leveling path is going to be levels 1 through 4 in Warlock, a quick 4-level dip in Sorcerer, and then back to Warlock for our remaining levels. Senna's passive, Absolution, is going to come from Soul Cage. Our Q, Piercing Darkness, is going to come from Eldritch Blast and Healing Light. Her W, Last Embrace, comes from Hold Person. Our E, Curse of the Black Mist, will come from Gaseous Form. And finally, we get our ultimate, Dawning Shadow, from Wall of Light and Aid. For race, we're going to reach into the Unearthed Arcana and pluck out the Reborn. We're going to gain a +2 to our Charisma and a +1 to our Dexterity. We're also going to pick up Deathless Nature, which gives us a few features. You're going to have advantage on saves against disease and being poisoned, and just resistance to poison damage in general. You're also going to have advantage on death saves. You won't need to eat or drink, or breathe, or sleep, and magic can't even put you to sleep. It also lets you finish a long rest in 4 hours as long as you relax during that time. Our final feature is going to be Knowledge from a Past Life. Anytime you make a skill check, you can add a d6 to it, using memories from your past life to assist you. You have charges on this based on your proficiency bonus, and they recharge on a long rest. Background is going to be an obvious choice with the Haunted one. I mean, there's so many traumatic events in her life, I don't know which to reference here. But basically, you gain proficiency with Religion and Survival, and the Heart of Darkness feature. This is going to make those around you empathetic to your suffering, and do their best to help you when you need it. For stats, we're going to balance the light and dark within Senna with the standard array. Roll if you want to, but keep at least a 13 in Charisma for multi-classing purposes. Charisma is going to be our top stat for multi-classing, and because it powers our abilities. We'll take Dexterity next for nimbleness and for landing shots with our Relic Cannon. Constitution will be after that for some durability. Then we'll grab some Wisdom from our life experiences. Finally, our Intelligence is going to be average, and we'll dump Strength. The only equipment we definitely need here is going to be a heavy crossbow, which will flavor as our Relic Cannon. Alrighty, we're going to kick off the build with some levels in Warlock. Warlocks have a d8 hit die and have proficiency with light armor and simple weapons. We're also going to get skill proficiencies in Arcana and Intimidation. First level Warlocks choose their otherworldly patron to gain their power from. We're going to become a Sentinel of Light with the Celestial Patron. This is going to give us access to an expanded spell list and the Healing Light feature. Healing Light is going to give us a pool of d6s equal to 1 plus our Warlock level, that we can use as a bonus action to heal anyone within 60 feet of us. Meaning, when we use our Eldritch Blast, which is going to be our Q, we can heal an ally along the path as well with this bonus action. These die recharge on a long rest. We're also going to pick up a cantrip this level. The main one we're going to use is the Warlock Bread and Butter Eldritch Blast, which I just mentioned. This will be the damaging portion of our Q. You fire out a beam of energy that deals 1d10 force damage on hit. Now this spell is going to be massively improved next level with Eldritch Invocations, and when we gain some meta magic later. Second level Warlocks gain Eldritch Invocations, which are a long list of mainly passive abilities that improve our spells or give us access to new ones. There are 5 important ones for us to discuss for the build that you can take at your leisure. Improved Pack Weapon is going to have to wait till next level when we get our Pact Boon. It's going to allow us to use our Relic Cannon as a spellcasting focus, meaning we can fire our Eldritch Blast through there without abusing flavor too much. We'll also gain a +1 to our attack and damage rolls with it. Next, we'll get Agonizing Blast to add your Charisma mod to each attack made with Eldritch Blast, which really scales the damage up fast. Eldritch Spears after that to start extending the range of our Q like our passive does. It'll increase our base range on Eldritch Blast to 300 feet, which is about a quarter of the way to where we'll finally get to. Lance of Lethargy will let us reduce a creature's speed by 10 feet until the end of your next turn, once per turn when you hit it with Eldritch Blast, just like Glacial Augment. And the final invocation we'll take is Armor of Shadows, which will give us the ability to cast Mage Armor at will, meaning our AC can always be 13 plus our Dex mod. Level 3 Warlocks gain their Pact Boon and 2nd level spells. We spoiled the Pact Boon last level, but in case you missed it, we're going with Pact of the Blade. This is going to allow us to create our Relic Cannon out of thin air with an action, which is a pretty awesome flex and definitely worth giving up your first action for. For our 2nd level spell, we're going to reach for a staple of the channel with Hold Person. You force a Wisdom save on a creature and paralyze it if it fails until it can make the save. The reason we're going with this spell is that when we scale up with spell slots, we can target additional creatures, which will help us with the AoE route on our W. 4th level Warlocks gain the first ability score improvement of the build. As always, we like to break down all of our ASIs here so you can choose what you'd like when you'd like it. At 4th level Warlock, we're going to pick up Spell Sniper to double our Eldritch Blast range to 600 feet, and let it ignore half cover and 3/4 cover as well. At 4th level Sorcerer, we'll pick up Warcaster, which will give us advantage on concentration saves, and let us cast a spell at a creature when it provokes an opportunity attack. At 8th level Warlock, we'll take Sentinel, because King and Mr. Kage are bullies, and because Senna is literally a Sentinel of Light. Whenever we hit a creature with a previously mentioned opportunity attack, they're essentially rooted for the rest of their turn by reducing their speed to 0. We can also hit opportunity attacks even if the disengage action has been taken. At 12th level Warlock, we'll round off our Charisma and Dex with a point each. And finally at 16th Warlock, we'll max our Charisma with 2 more points. And now that we've hit a natural multi-class point, we'll bounce over to Sorcerer for a few levels. Sorcerers have a d6 hit die and give us no new proficiencies. Thanks to being touched by the Black Mist, we're going to go with the Divine Soul as our Sorceress Origin. This is going to give us the Inflict Wounds spell, and the Favored by the Gods feature. Favored by the Gods allows us to change the outcome of a failed saving throw or attack with a 2d4 roll. This feature recharges once a rest, so it'll definitely get some good mileage if you don't forget about it. 2nd level Sorcerers gain Font of Magic. This gives you a pool of sorcery points to use to better manipulate your divine magic. Right now, you can only convert sorcery points to spell slots or vice versa, but next level we'll gain the ability to put them to work with meta magic. Speaking of meta magic, level 3 sorcerers gain meta magic, which is a set of options to enhance your spells using sorcery points. The 2 important meta magic options we'll use for Senna are Distance Spell and Quicken Spell. Distance Spell is going to allow us to spend a sorcery point to double our Eldritch Blast again to a staggering 1,200 feet. Imagine fighting a siege with Senna just raking down piercing light from the top of the battlements. Quicken Spell is going to let us spend 2 sorcery points to cast Eldritch Blast as a bonus action, meaning we can hit up to 8 targets in a single turn. We're also going to pick up 2nd level Sorcerer spells. The Aid spell is going to give us the shield from our ultimate. You can choose 3 creatures within range and bump their max HP and current HP by 5 for the duration. And back over to Warlock. Level 5 Warlocks learn 3rd level spells. We're going to pick up Gaseous Form here for our E. This will let us turn ourselves or an ally into a Misty form and give us a 10-foot flying speed. You'll gain resistance to non-magical damage and advantage on strength, dex, and con saves. And you can use this form to sneak through narrow places. The form lasts for an hour or until you drop concentration on the spell. 6th level Celestial Warlocks gain Radiant Soul. We'll get resistance to radiant damage, and we can add our Charisma mod to 1 damage roll of a spell that deals radiant or fire damage, which will give our ult a little more oomph. Skipping up to level 9, we're going to learn 5th level spells, which means it's time to pick up our ult, Wall of Light. Out of the Relic Cannon, we'll shoot a wall of bright light, ideally in a 60-foot straight line. Each creature in the area has to make a con save or take 48 radiant damage and get blinded for a minute. Also, any creature that sits on the wall at the end of their turn takes another 48 radiant damage. While the wall's active, you can use your next action to fire a beam of light from it, dealing 48 radiant damage as well. Remember on your next turn to cast the Aid spell for maximum flavor matching. Level 10 Celestial Warlocks gain Celestial Resistance, which will give Senna and her team a nice little shield of temporary hit points equal to our Warlock level plus our Charisma mod. And finally we get to Warlock level 11 and the Mystic Arcanum. These are a series of very powerful spells we get from our patron that we can only use once per long rest. For our 6th level choice, we'll pick up the flavor of our passive with Soul Cage. You snatch up the soul of a humanoid as it dies inside of a tiny cage, or your Relic Cannon. I feel like the cage feels too threshy for Senna, but until the spell ends you can use the soul in a few ways. Steal a Life will let you heal yourself for 2d8 hit points. Query Soul will let you ask it a question that the soul has to answer truthfully. Borrow Experience will let you gain advantage on your next attack, ability check, or saving throw. And finally, you can use Eyes of the Dead, which will let you place a sensor in a place that soul has seen in their past life. As long as the sensor lasts, you can see or hear anything around it. Alright, now that we've completed the build, let's see how we did. First, the good. We got our global autos in queue, and we do very high damage with both of them. Your DM is going to be hurriedly adjusting their monster health pools once they see what you're bringing to the table. We also strike the balance between light and dark really well with this build. Now the bad. The main bad thing for this build is that we couldn't give others our E because Twin Spell cost more sorcery points than we had available to spend. Also, even though our Eldritch Blast can stretch 1200 feet, our ult only goes 60 feet? Now that won't probably be a big deal because most battle maps won't go that far, but it's still slightly disappointing. So what'd you think? I've included a link to this build via D&D Beyond in the description below, as well as Amazon links to the books used in the build. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a few awesome rewards including access to our Discord community and monthly homebrew releases. We plan on turning out one League Champion build every week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift, or in the Forgotten Realms.